Here is another video about SMMware. Today we will discuss our time clock feature. For a general overview of SMMware, please see our introductory video at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SMMware, or just search your YouTube app for SMMware. Okay, let's begin. We will want to enable the time clock for a given associate. We edit their profile, scroll down to the bottom, find the entry labeled Enable Time Clock, switch it from No to Yes, and then of course click Save. The time clock is not something that you have to enable at the system level, it's something that you do per associate for whoever you want to have access to it. Once that is done, the time clock icon will appear just to the left of the username in the upper right of the page. We'll click on that to open the time clock. Before we can start, we have to pick a job. If that job in turn used job codes, we would also pick a job code. So now we can go ahead and start the time clock. If we stop the time clock less than 1 minute in, it will erase that entry. The thinking here is that if you chose the wrong job, we don't want to clutter up the entries with something that was incorrect. Any changes you make to the travel distance, the billable status, and the text or the description will be saved as we go. We can close the time clock window and reopen it. We won't lose anything now that the time clock entry is running. Once the time clock is running, if we change jobs, it will stop the existing entry and start a new one. The same is true if job codes were enabled. We're going to let this entry run for a little bit now. Okay, we've allowed the time clock to run for a little while. We're going to go look at the time entries for that associate. When we scroll down, we'll see that the running time clock entry is marked. I can see this because I'm an admin. If I was a basic user, I would just be looking at my time clock by opening it. Again, as an admin, I can edit this, and it will note that it is the running time clock entry. If I make changes and save this entry, it will stop the time clock, which is noted here under the Save button, and you'll also note, because it's labeled here at the top, that this is the running time clock entry. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the time clock. And we will note here that the time is rounded up for the start time and down for the ending time to the nearest 15-minute interval. If someone forgets the time clock running, SMMware will automatically close it at the end of the day. At this point in time, the entry is simply another hours entry in the system that you can edit as needed. There is a note at the bottom saying that it was created via the time clock and what the start time and end times were unrounded. That concludes our introduction to our time clock feature. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time and hope you have a great day. Thank you.